Good morning, everybody, and welcome to The Balancing Act. We are so glad you joined us. I'm Julie Moran.
And I'm Olga Villaverde. Does your child seem to be growing less than his peers? Growing taller is a natural progression for most children, but not for those who have a medical condition that stunts their growth. We're going to learn more about this rare condition, including clinical trials for promising new treatments.
I love that. Promising is the right word. And what should you look for in a university, whether for you or your children? We've got the tips you just might need.
A lot of education here today. The Balancing Act starts
right now. As a child, I remember having a growth chart on my bedroom wall. I so loved when my mom measured my height. You know, growing taller is a natural progression for most children, but not for those who have a medical condition that stunts their growth. In this Behind the Mystery Rare and Genetic series, we examine pediatric growth hormone deficiency. Our guests are pediatric endocrinologist Dr. Will Charlton of the pharmaceutical company Versartis, and Lisa and Emmy Grace, a mother and her daughter, who will share their journey with us. Welcome to the show. It's so great to have you here today. Doctor, what is growth hormone deficiency and how common is it in children?
Growth hormone deficiency affects about 1 in 3,500 kids in the United States. And there are multiple reasons why you can be deficient, not make enough growth hormone. Sometimes you're born that way. Sometimes the hypothalamus, which is at the bottom of your brain and controls the pituitary gland, doesn't develop properly.
Okay.
Sometimes the pituitary gland itself, which is a little pea-sized gland at the base of your brain and secretes a whole bunch of different hormones, if that doesn't develop properly, then you also don't make enough growth hormone.
So what is considered normal growth and how do you measure that?
Well, the first few years of life, growth is really, really rapid.
Okay.
But between toddlerhood and puberty, growth settles down to, normal growth is at least 2.5 inches a year.
Now, Lisa, as a parent, we really have to be our child's advocate, don't we?
Yes, absolutely.
And doctor, you know, what should we as parents look for?
Well, when you take your child to the pediatrician and they map out the child's growth on the growth chart, there are a couple of red flags. The first one is if your child is shorter than 97% of their peers. The second red flag is that tracking over time. If the rate of growth isn't keeping up with that line and it's tapering off, then that's a big red flag.
When did you start noticing what you thought may be symptoms with Emmy?
Well, we've been following with our pediatric endocrinologist. They've been following her height for over, I think, a period of 3 years now. And just recently, and it started to decline over time. So not only was she under the 97th percentile, she was kind of off the chart at that point, and it was declining. So that's when we noticed that maybe we should look at doing something about it.
And doctor, this affects children not only physically but emotionally as well, right?
It does. Obviously, being small sometimes can lead to teasing, and that can be very difficult for children. But also, growth hormone has a lot of important metabolic effects. So children with growth hormone deficiency, they don't develop as much lean muscle, they develop more fat. So they tend to be chubby, in addition to being little. They oftentimes look younger than their peers.
Right.
And it also has psychological effects. It has effects on your brain, it affects your mood and your sense of well-being.
Emmy, you're just so adorable. And let me just say, did you ever experience where that part of it being like judged or teased on the playground or anything like that?
Well, actually, really, no.
Right.
But people have said that I do look much younger than I actually am.
So Lisa, when did that light go off for you?
The light went off for me. You know, I started to notice she was much shorter than most of her friends. And that didn't bother me. We were very mindful of it, and she was obviously aware of it also. But about 6 months ago, she was declining her growth. So that's where we started to get concerned. And over talking with the pediatric endocrinologist, she decided that this was the best thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad we're talking about this. There's sort of parents out there that are watching this that can relate. The light bulb is going to go off. And when we come back, we'll discuss tests and evaluations. Plus, we'll take a look at treatment options. Stay with us. Welcome back, everybody. We've been discussing pediatric growth hormone deficiency, a rare but treatable, I like that, treatable condition, with pediatric endocrinologist Dr. Will Charlton of the pharmaceutical company Versartis. And Lisa and Emmy Grace, I'm just so glad they're here. And I want to turn now and talk to you, doctor, just quickly about diagnosis. How do you make that?
Initially, you're just monitoring a child's growth. And as Lisa talked about with Emmy, if the rate of growth starts to decline, then at some point you start doing tests. Initially, you test for all sorts of things, nutritional deficiencies, kidney problems.
Right.
So you do a broad array of tests. It's blood work. And once you narrow it down and you think it might be growth hormone deficiency, there are two primary diagnostic tests. One is an X-ray of your wrist, and what you're doing in that case is you're looking at the development of the bones and comparing it to bone development of other kids. Kids with growth hormone deficiency tend to be slower to mature.
Okay.
So we call it the bone age. If your bone age is delayed, that's a clue. Additionally, we will do something called the growth hormone stimulation test, which is not that much fun, huh? You actually have to get an IV, and then what we do is we give you a medication through the IV that triggers growth hormone secretion from your brain, from your pituitary gland. And then we wait a little while and we draw your blood and see how high your growth hormone levels go.
Well, Lisa, I assume that Emmy she underwent these tests, right?
She absolutely did, and I do remember the first bone age. She had the bone age, and you can correct me if I have it wrong, but I think you had the bones of a 6-year-old and you were 8 at the time. So that was our first clear indication on that. We then went and did, I want to say, the MRI and the stim test, which is, as Dr. Charlton mentioned, it was a full day event.
I'm so sorry.
She had to miss her first day of school, which did not make her happy, but it was very important to find out truly what was going on. So we did undergo everything that was recommended to us to find out.
Doctor, we mentioned that GHD is treatable. What are the treatment options?
Well, right now, the treatment option is a daily injection. So we're basically replacing the growth hormone that your body's not making.
Lisa, if you could ask Dr. Will a question, what would your question be?
My question would be, is there going to be a day where maybe there's not an injection every day for your child?
Right now, Versartis is working on a longer-acting growth hormone that will only require a shot every other week.
Wow. Would you love that, Emmy?
Yeah, it would be better.
And how can we learn more about the clinical trials for your long-acting form of growth hormone somaveritan, doctor?
Versartis has a website, versartistrials.com.
Okay.
And you can learn about all of the clinical trials being done in growth hormone currently at clinicaltrials.gov.
And you know what, Emmy, I'm not going to let you go until I heard you in the green room singing the Cup song. Would you sing that song?
Of course.
Okay. Oh my gosh, I didn't know if you were going to say yes. Just give us a little bit of that.
I've got my ticket for the long way round, the one with the prettiest of views. It's got mountains, it's got rivers, it's got sights to give you shivers, and it sure would be prettier with you. When I'm gone, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone. You're gonna miss me by my hair, you're gonna miss me everywhere. Oh, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone.
Oh my gosh. Okay, The Voice, American Idol, I can see you have an amazing, cool voice. I love that. Thank you so much for coming in. This is such a great conversation that we had today, so important. And thank you for that song.
Thank you. We're glad to share our experience.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
And for more, you can visit us at thebalancingact.com.
We live in a competitive society that's becoming increasingly global at almost every turn. And this makes the decision of choosing a college or university, be it for us or our children, more important today than ever before. There is so much to consider. Our guests can help us navigate that maze. Meet Daniel Ripich, president of the University of New England, along with Anwar Majid, vice president of global affairs and communications. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for being here this morning. Daniel, let me start with you. I know that you have a personal appreciation for higher education and a very inspiring story. Can you share that with us this morning?
Well, I watched my mother go back to school with 2 children and complete a degree, become a teacher. And so after I had 3 children, I went to school and earned my bachelor's, master's, and my doctorate eventually.
Wow.
And so I believe in access to education. Life can get in the way, but it doesn't mean that you can't finish and complete degrees that have meaning to you in your life. And I really encourage people to think about lifelong learning. I believe in it.
And if I could share a personal story, a quick one with my aunt who came from Cuba, and due to the revolution, she came here, never finished, and we just years ago, I think 2 years ago, celebrated such jubilation. She graduated at 62. So
Wonderful.
Isn't that a great story as well?
Great story.
And I love hearing inspiring stories like this because it's never too late.
That's right.
But something that I hear a lot is, how do I know to choose the right school? Where do I go? So what are some of the main considerations, Danielle?
Well, I think finding the right fit for you, the right program, whether it's residential, whether it's online, the kind of school that you can work into a budget plan that you can afford, and the majors that are going to lead you to the careers that you want. Those are all things we really look for at the University of New England.
Anwar, can you chime in?
Yeah, I mean, the University of New England offers a lot of value to our students, whether they, especially those who are choosing the health professions as their career. We have a unique institution in that regard. We have the only medical school in the state of Maine, and we ground all of these courses there, and we give them a foundation in the liberal arts, in the humanities, and the social sciences, so that our health professionals, our graduates, have a balanced view of the world, basically, when they graduate. On top of that, of course, we are also going global.
And Danielle, something that comes to mind is the rising tuition costs. And that's something that someone really has to make a big decision on. Sometimes they say, I can't afford it. And what do you say?
Well, we've been working aggressively to keep tuition costs down, keep them at a minimum, and 90% of our students receive some institutional help, and they also take out loans, though, but our student loan default rate was 3%, so 97% of them are out being able to get good jobs and pay their loans back, so we take it very seriously.
And what else should students consider when thinking of the University of New England?
The University of New England, as Anwar said, has a number of career-focused health professions, and those students get jobs. They do well. 90% of our students, after 6 months of graduation, are employed in their area of interest in their work. 6% of them are waiting to hear from graduate school and jobs. So we really believe that we move aggressively to help them not just go to the University of New England, but to move them out into the world of work. So
which is a nice return on their investment, right?
Exactly.
Anwar, I was reading here, you are also the general manager of the Tangier campus. So what is it like for students to study there?
Oh, it's very exciting. We take our students in the health sciences and in the sciences, and we put them in a campus, and we provide labs, example like in organic chemistry or physics and biology.
I remember organic chemistry, toughest class I ever took.
That's right. And so we take our students from Maine, and we put them in our campus in Tangier, Morocco.
Gorgeous.
They take their courses in English, and on top of that, they take courses in Arabic, for example, and they get to know the region, because Tangier is about 45 minutes away from Spain. We have another program in Sevilla, Spain, so they cross into Spain to meet their peers in Sevilla, and the northern Sevilla, kind of Morocco.
What
they get to know the Mediterranean culture. There's Africa in the background, and of course there's the Middle Eastern cultures and so on. So they get a number of cultural experiences in that one single spot of Tangier.
In gorgeous areas, great people, and a lot of culture, which that's a great return on the investment as well.
Yes.
Danielle, you being the president, I also noticed here that you've received some major accolades, the university. Tell me about it.
The Princeton Review ranks the top 380 colleges and universities out of over 2,500 in the U.S. And so we're ranked in the Princeton Review, which is a real marker of quality. And then on return on investment, what you were just talking about, Olga, we were ranked as #1 by Brookings Institution in Maine. Forbes magazine has put us in the top 15%. So we really believe in giving students the value for their educational dollar. And PayScale ranked us as #1 return on investment. So we focus on making sure that the money that students give us, we use and return to them in the best way, best value added.
Thank you to both
Thank
of you.
you
Great
for
information, and
having
we'll be
us.
seeing you again next time for more topics on the University of New England.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For information on the school, where do they go to, Anwar?
une.edu.
une.edu. And of course, you can go to our website, thebalancingact.com. We'll see you next time.
This morning, we continue our 4-part series on improving health care for you and your family with the help of your pharmacist. It's part 2 in our series, and today we're talking about heart health and COPD. And here to explain is Dr. Marcia Mallett from Good Neighbor Pharmacy, a network of more than 3,000 locally owned community pharmacies. Welcome, Marcia.
Thank you.
First
Thank
of
you for
all,
having
you're
me.
stunning, and who wouldn't want you as their pharmacist?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Marcia, remind me what you do at Good Neighbor Pharmacy.
Well, Julie, I'm not just a pharmacist. I am a pharmacist that likes to talk to our patients. I consult with them. We're community driven. We do a lot of community activities with the patient. Our patients know us by name, and they can come and talk to us about anything.
I love the fact that you're old-fashioned, good neighbor, and who wouldn't? Your pharmacist is so important. You see them more than your doctor, so I love what you're doing there, and I'm sure you do treat a lot of patients who have heart disease, and how are you able to help in that area?
Well, one of the things I want to point out is that heart disease is the leading cause of deaths here in America amongst women and men. And let me add that according to the World Health Organization, as recent as 2012, there were 17.5 million deaths that were attributed to heart disease, which represented about 31%. And now that's globally. Those numbers are pretty staggering.
Yes, they are.
So what we want to point out are the risk factors for heart disease. You have smoking, high blood cholesterol, high blood pressure. There's obesity, overweight, physical inactivity, and diabetes. And in dealing with the smoking issues, for number one, you know, I talk to my patients about, okay, are you ready to quit? Because you have to first make the commitment that you want to quit, that you want to stop. And then I offer information such as support groups, and then there are medications that are available to assist them. One of the leading causes of COPD is smoking. And that goes hand in hand, because remember, one of the risk factors for heart disease is smoking. Many times you have patients that have more than one condition. So it's very important that we're there to take the time and talk to the patient and make certain that they understand their conditions. Because sometimes they come in, they take medication, and they ask me, okay, Dr. Mallett, what am I taking this for? What is this medication for?
Right.
You know, and then I have to point out to them, okay, your doctor prescribed this medication because you have heart disease, or because you have high blood pressure, or because you have diabetes. And then I also say to them, you know, you have to make certain that you know the name of your medication, because they'll come in and they'll say, okay, well, I know I got this pink pill or this green pill. And I say, no. It's very important that you know and understand the name of your medication, because God forbid that there is an emergency and the person that's taking care of you, they must know exactly what you're taking. So there are so many things that we get a chance to talk to our patients about. So yes, we do like going out front and coming from behind the counter and having that interaction with our patients.
Well, that's a great experience to have. The pharmacist, the doctor, and the patient all together on one page.
Absolutely.
Marcia, thank you so much for coming by. Great information.
Thank you for having me.
All right, if you want to know more, log on to thebalancingact.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
Thanks for starting your morning right here with us.
So much good information on our website, thebalancingact.com.
Check out Facebook and Twitter. We are there. And until the next time.
Remember, find your balance. So long, everybody.